let's talk about Katalina, right? She has been consistently stealing the MVP out of all of my matches that I have been playing lately with her. She's very powerful, like Ares, what the basic, the bread and butter that she has. It is very, very powerful, and she's something similar to the captain. Let's say that, yeah, she's something similar to the captain, where she's going to be buffing everyone else. But opposite to the captain, one thing that I found about Katalina is that she actually does manages to pull off quite disgusting amounts of DPS by just having a couple of skills out there, and that is entirely because of Ares. Ares, it's just a machine. It's a destroying machine that it deals so much damage. But then again, remember that Katalina is one of the characters that you always want to have on your crew, in your party, because she's always going to be providing support. It's always going to be providing healing. And on top of that, her damage output, it's just nuts. She deals just so much damage. So let's briefly talk about that. What is Ares? Ares is a primeval being that is going to be the basic bread and butter of Katalina. When she performs combos, once you manage to land that final special attack combo, you're going to fill up the Ares meter. And the interesting thing about the Ares meter is that once you manage to fill it up, once you manage to fill that Ares meter up, you're going to summon that Ares. Ares is going to attack beside you, but not only is Ares going to attack beside you, it is also going to empower every single one of your skills. So they're going to deal more damage, whether if it's for them to deal more damage, for them to provide more healing, more area of effect, and I'll talk about that, some of them a little bit later, but some of the area of effect once Ares is summoned, they are just nuts. They are just nuts. And Katalina is amazing at basically everything. Fighting against singular foes, fighting against hordes of enemies because of the skills that she might have available. So depending on the missions, you are going to want to switch a little bit here, back and forth, some of the skills that you are going to have with Katalina. But that being said, yeah, the command list, you've had it all throughout the rendition of this thing right here. You have the combo A, B, C, and D. One very important thing is that there's a couple of skills that you're going to have in that are going to benefit the most when you have Ares summons. Again, you want to be performing combos, and the E combo, it's just by using the special attack. Once you have Ares summons, I think that the one that deals the most damage, I think that the one you should be using the most if you don't actually have the skills available, because remember that Ares is going to be in there, so Ares is not going to consume a skill. Ares is going to be there for a period of time, so you should be at least saving some of your skills for that time when you're going to have Ares active, for them to maximize everything. You do have to be very, very fast to have Ares at all times whenever you do know that you're going to have those skills. But if you don't have skills available, once you manage to summon Ares, I'd say that Ares back strike, which is pressing the special attack button quite a bit of times after summoning him, that is going to do the trick for you. So that is basically the bread and butter of Katalina. So then let's briefly talk about the skills that Katalina is going to have, because remember that every character has a skeleton, and that skeleton is going to be complemented by the skills that each character is going to have. Katalina, like I said, in a sense is very similar to the captain, although she's always going to be, instead of providing DPS to the entire crew, she's going to be protecting the entire crew, healing the entire crew, but also being a lone wolf for dealing damage for herself. So her bread and butter on her skills are going to be defending the party, healing the party, and dealing damage for herself instead of buffing everyone else. So we have a couple of skills right here, the Enchanted Lance and Winter's Reign. Those two are basically for your bread and butter of the skills that you're going to be using for lone DPS. They actually deal quite a bit of DPS, and both of these guys are focused on moving a little bit more throughout the battlefield. Remember that Katalina doesn't have that much mobility like many of the characters like Siegfried, which is always traveling throughout the battlefield, or Lancelot, or the rest of the characters that do have quite a bit of mobility. Katalina is going to have to rely on these kind of skills. But then again, if you summon the Enchanted Lance while you have Ares summons, it is going to deal more hits. Whereas on Winter's Reign, it's going to deal more hits as well, but Winter's Reign is a little bit more better. It's going to deal a little bit less damage, but it's also going to inflict a little bit more stun. So if you pair this skill with a weapon that deals stun on itself, that's just amazing. Then we have skills like Light Wall. Light Wall is going to grant invincibility to Katalina, but also when you manage to have Ares, that is going to be for every single character. This is one of the skills that you will be using whenever an enemy is charging up a very, very dangerous strike. Although it is going to be most beneficial to save it whenever you have Ares, but remember that you can't really control. It's like a Triforce kind of thing. You have to control the Light Wall. You have to control when the enemy is going to deal that attack, that very, very scary attack, and you also have to control when are you going to summon Ares. So I'd say that this is not going to be that beneficial to save it for that specific one time when you have to save the entire party, because you have to have in control like three things at once: the cooldown, the special attack that the enemy is going to be charging up, and having Ares at that specific given time. So I'd say that this is one that you should be using for Katalina on herself, just because. Whereas, for example, we have the Emerald Shield. The Emerald Shield, on the other hand, is going to give you defense, and also it's going to give you Stout Heart. Remember, Stout Heart, it's hyper armor. And having hyper armor on every single character, this is just amazing, on top of being able to give you more defense. Although, the thing is that this is not going to be increased. The effectiveness of the skill is not going to be increased. Like, for example, the Captain, which has similar skills that are going to boost your defense for 30% depending on the odds level that you have. Katalina is just going to give the buff to the entire crew, but it is not going to increase the efficacy of that one skill. So one is a very good thing to have in mind, but have in mind that Katalina deals a little bit more DPS than the Captain. And then we have Heal, which is very self-explanatory, so she's going to have Heal. And as you can see, she always focuses on protecting everyone and dealing as much damage as possible. Katalina, it's a very, very well-rounded character that you should always have in your crew, whether you have Gran or you have Katalina. These are excellent support characters. Although I do have some little recommendations, some of the skills that I advise for you to have at all times is going to be Sacred Winds. Sacred Winds is going to deal massive damage in an AoE, and that AoE is going to be increased, furthermore increased, if you have Ares summoned. But one of the skills that I'd say that it is the most important one of them all is going to be Azure Sword. This is going to summon Ares to attack foes in front of Katalina, and also it's going to temporarily summon Ares immediately. So if you have the Azure Sword right here with Katalina, you can potentially be switching back and forth by having Ares as much as possible, and that would give you a little bit more of usage of Ares on demand. I'd say that you should keep at least this as a must and this as a must. Now then you can focus Katalina on being all on one DPS and negate the healing and the defense spells that you have. But I'd say that with Sacred Winds and Azure Sword, that is an excellent build, and then you can add, like, for example, healing or shields or stuff like that, and that is going to be making Katalina more than capable of doing everything that she needs to be doing. Anyways, if you like the content, like and very super appreciated, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. No one told you today you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. I will see you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Have a lovely, lovely day, and goodbye.